Hey, folks, we are here with Chris Griffith. He is the managing director of the Gloucester Stage Company. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me this morning.
Oh, thanks for taking the time. So, all right, give us a lay of the land. What's the stage company up to these days and in these times?
Yes, we are keeping busy, watching the calendar and watching the news like everyone else is doing. It's a crazy time for Gloucester Stage. I think when this all came out a month and a half ago, we thought, it's summer so far away, this will all be fine. And as we've all learned slowly how this has been progressing, we've just had to create a really adaptive plan on how to respond as we move forward. So right now, we released our season last month. We had 5 really incredible shows lined up. And now we're down to 4. We just sent the email out last week that we canceled our first production. It's a really great show by Cheryl Strayed and Nia Vardilos called Tiny Beautiful Things, which was a podcast. It was it's the person who wrote the movie Wild with Reese Witherspoon. So it's a really light, like summer fair. So we're going to keep it. We're just going to move it to 2021. And that's kind of the plan. When I sent the email, I almost wanted to say, all right, well, you knew this might happen. So here we are, And what's really great is we've been working with our artists on a pretty tight level to make sure that, they're aware of our timelines and they know when we might cancel and move things. But, up next, we're looking at July. And July is still kind of in the danger zone. I think I just read some data about what it will take for folks to come back to a cultural organization like this and see a movie or go to a theater or go to a museum. And it's tricky. Folks are looking for a vaccine. Folks are looking for the signs that it's safe. They want the red flag at the beach to go down before they're going to come out again. And we agree. I always say that we have to protect our asset, and our assets are our audience in the theater industry. So it's a tricky time. Right now, we have 2 other theaters that are looking at July as well with us. We have our partner theater and Wellfleet Harbor Actors Theater down on the Cape, and then also Lyric Stage Company, which normally would be closed in the summertime in Boston. They're working on creating some type of content for the summertime to make up for lost revenue. But we've also seen friends like at Martha's Vineyard who decided to cancel their whole summer. So right now they're just like, it's done. We're going to wait till next year. So it's a tricky space to be in, but we're ready to try and weather the storm if we can.
So Chris, I understand that you've started a fund. Is that to sort of support the actors and people in the community?
Good question. It's not really a fund. It's just an opportunity to make a contribution. The theater right now, that's a really good question. The theater right now is missing out on about $115,000 in revenue. That doesn't mean that we've lost that money because we've been able to cut costs. We're desperately trying to keep our staff on the whole time. So far, we haven't laid anyone off. And then we're also working really hard to try and find opportunities to pay artists. At the end of the day, that's really our mission. I mean, the difference between a nonprofit professional theater company and a nonprofit community theater is that we're paying these artists, but these artists, this is like their sole source of income. So it's really important for us, again, to try and, if we can, make a show happen this summer so that we can employ some actors and designers and get them in here. But yeah, so that fund is actually to help the Gloucester Stage Company in this time. Because it's a tricky business to be in where half of your revenue comes from large gatherings of people, and the other half come from people that likely have, stock portfolios or things that the stock market is influencing how they give. There's a direct correlation to how the economy is doing and how nonprofits receive funds. So we want to share that opportunity, but we also, for instance, just recently, we'll talk about this maybe next, but one of the opportunities we opened up was a streaming content. And just today, we're going to be announcing that proceeds from that are going to go to fund backyard growers. Because we kind of recognize that there are some nonprofits in town that are doing more to solve this moment right now with food. People need food. People need support on their utility bills. And I think that there, especially in Gloucester, are some really fantastic nonprofit organizations who are taking the lead in that. And so we want to make sure that we can step aside, take care of ourselves, and let them directly help people where they can. So
it's an interesting point, Chris, because I was going to ask if the theater was considering remote performances or like almost like pay-per-view performances.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yes, we are considering that actually. And so right now, the first thing we've done is we've released a streaming episode of Too Fat for China by Phoebe Potts. That was her one-woman show that we helped her produce in November. We're still hoping that might go on to other theaters or even to some festivals internationally. Would be that we're looking at trying to create content at least each month, especially while we're dark, to produce something for people to view or partake in. Next month, we're working with the Gloucester Writers Center to produce Fish Tales. Typically, that storytelling event happens on our stage, of course, with a live audience, and they always stream it on Facebook. But since we're being a little bit more cautious and getting together just doesn't make sense, we're going to film that and actually create that content for online. The next step is a little bit more towards what you were asking, and that's we're talking to Actors Equity Association, which is the union for actors. And most of our performers are in that union. Again, it's something that makes sure they have a pension, it makes sure they have health care. So it's a really good thing that we participate with those unions. But that does mean that there's some extra rules involved, especially when the camera comes out. So it's an uncharted area. A lot of theaters that were in the middle of a production were able to work with their unions and work with their people that were doing the shows to get them to agree to participate in a live stream performance or filming. Central Square Theatre in Cambridge just did a really great show of Pipeline, which is a brand new play that's being produced all around the country, and it did pretty well. We're looking towards, but creating something from scratch is a little bit trickier. So we are working with Equity right now to come up with a contract to try and produce something where either we would get together for a staged reading, which just means that there's no costumes, a little less movement, but still you get the story, and produce some video content. That stuff would likely be free. Another version of content, we have a really wonderful cohort of veterans of our Gloucester Stage that are couples throughout the country. So we have some folks, a couple couples in New York, a couple couples in the area here in Boston. And so there's some really great two-person plays or two-person moments in plays that would be really wonderful to get them to create that content, film it, and then produce that together. And so that's something we're also looking forward to trying to get together before we meet again this summer.
Cool.
Thanks for asking that, though. It's a new world. I don't envy Netflix.
So all this content will be found on your Facebook page. Is that right, Chris?
That's a great question. So we're actually using Vimeo. We found that was a great resource for being able to stream from your TV if you'd like, or Roku or Apple TV or all that jazz. And so definitely we'll be posting all that content on Facebook to link towards it, and then also our website to make sure that folks can access that. And it's a good question. We don't, we're not used to producing this content. It's not going to be the same as what you'll see from a TV producing studio would be able to provide. So it's a different world. It's a new adventure. And we're hoping that people will try it out. And if they don't, then we'll learn from that too. So,
is there anything going on with the with youth workshops at all?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question too. We're really wonderful to have Heidi Dallin still working behind the scenes on trying to create content for our youth acting workshops. The biggest one that's coming up next is our playwriting workshop. And so that's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more one-on-one time with the instructor that we bring in from Boston. So we're actually going to work with her on creating some video classes online, and then she'll be able to check in with them each week as they're writing their plays. But we work with students who are, basically ages 10 to 18, who have an idea or don't have an idea. We help them create a story and put that together. And then, of course, it comes together into a nice little festival in September, which we don't even know if September is safe yet, but the hope would be to still be able to do that. And then we're also looking at trying to adapt the program because we might have less time together. We might be looking at doing more of an intensive 1 week like summer camp this summer instead of a 6-week program like we have in the past. But we're trying to give the kids something to do and make sure that their extracurricular activities in theater are still being filled in these crazy times. So
it's just so interesting to see how everybody is adapting and morphing and trying to pivot into all these different spaces. So bravo.
Chris, I know how you can make that 115 grand back, though. If you can find a way to spoof Tiger King, you'd make a killing.
That's right. That's right. All I need is a big cat. That's right.
Yeah, right.
Cats you can use.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Well, let's stay in touch, Chris, and keep us posted on, as we all sort of navigate these waters together, on how the stage company is responding to things, and hopefully you can roll out some more programming, in the immediate future as well as long term.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my gosh, it's a really wonderful space to be in. Gloucester Stage is this regional theater, but we're so much a part of this community here in Gloucester, and it's been really wonderful, especially as an outsider, to see how quickly everyone's come together and really is still creating in this off season. I think that's so much a part of what the nature of Gloucester is. It's got the fishing background, but it's always been an art colony, a place where people come to paint and create. And I think that's really a wonderful thing that we're seeing. One last thing I wanted to mention actually is, I think that the Sawyer Free Library just launched a hashtag Gloucester Together campaign. And so that we're going to be participating with that as well, where we're just highlighting things that folks are creating in their houses. So we're going to be reaching out to our kids and making sure that our actors know that that's something where we can try and share just fun, short content in the next couple of weeks to keep people laughing and keep people smiling, and letting them know that we're apart but not alone.
Very cool.
That's great. That's great.
We'll be in touch, Chris. Thanks for your time.
Sweet. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of the morning.
Be well.
Thank you.